This video will cover post-processing baselines in Trimble Business Center. First, we'll start by opening up a new project in Trimble Business Center. We'll set the coordinate system, the units to US survey feet. Then I'll go into my project settings and set up the coordinate system. In this case, this particular T02 file was collected in NAT 83 Texas South Central, so I have a recently used coordinate system with those parameters, so I'll go ahead and select that, hit OK, and OK. Next, I will drag and drop in my T02 file, which I have stored on my computer already. So I will bring in that file, drop it in, and I have my raw data check-in window where I can see the time, the duration of the file. I will uncheck the RTX PP box in this case because we're not going to use that service for this demonstration. So you can see my point dropped into space here. Notice that it is control quality, so I'm going to go ahead and change that to unknown because this file was observed on a new point, and I'm going to have the core stations come in as control quality. So you can see I set all statuses to unknown. I hit the recompute button, and you can notice now my symbology on my point here is set to unknown, just a circle. So now at this point, I'm going to go through and go to the internet download to begin downloading my core stations near this observation. So you can see here I have a list of existing reference stations I've already utilized in the past. I'm going to go to the internet download configuration here to select a new site. You can see the same list is shown over here. I'm going to hit new site. I'm going to select from a predefined list. Note you can download an up-to-date list, but I have recently done that, so I'm going to skip over that for right now and just hit OK. So you see I have my reference station provider list, and notice it's conveniently displayed in closest to station to where my observation was recorded. What I normally do here is I try to look for text dot stations, in this case cores stations that are closest, and I download those first and move on out. In this one, Angleton 5 and 6 show up. I'm not really sure what the difference is there, so I'm going to pick Angleton 6 since it appears to be the newest one. Note the path is to the NGS Cores website. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and it's added to my internet download configuration here. That will then show up on a reference station list over here in my internet download pane. It shows up at the top if it's recently added. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my new site and pick some additional stations to add in so that I can download their data files. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here, and I'm going to just go down the list and look for the next nearest one. I already got Angleton, so I'm going to try Rosenberg. So I'm going to hit OK, same exact path, hit OK, and then just go to new site again, OK, and pick one more just so I can have 3 core stations to compare as control and some control checking. Looks like the next nearest one is the city of Houston. I'm going to go ahead and download that one. Same path again, hit OK, and OK. So now at this point, I can actually really start downloading. Up to now, I was just adding it to the list. So I'm going to go back to my internet download, and notice they're here. And I'm going to scroll up to the top, and I'm going to pick the top one, hit automatic. Notice the time, it's pretty smart about it. It shows 2.6 hours, and you can see my progress bar here going along as it's downloading the data. So a little delay here as it looks at the downloaded files, and you can see it's got all 3 of my observations associated with it, GLONASS observation and navigation file, and the data sheet to bring in the published values for it. In this case, I'm going to also uncheck the RTX PP, and you can see here now I get the Aqua baseline showing it's a baseline that can be post-processed. I'm just going to repeat those exact same processes here for the city of Houston. same exact files. I don't uncheck anything, I just bring them in, import, uncheck the box for RTXPP because it's a published monument. I don't need to worry about that. And I'll bring in this last one here. Sometimes when you download these files, it'll say it failed. In that case, that station may not have data for that day. But in this case, I got lucky. All three of the nearest stations had data, so I'm going to bring those in and use those. So you can see now I have my my baseline configuration. So what I'm going to show you here is a weighted observation to establish an unknown point. So these baselines from the core stations have already been established. So I'm going to go ahead and disable those baselines and basically use the core stations to basically take a side shot on my unknown point and then check it from the other stations. So I'm going to disable the cores because I don't need those in for the process I'm going to show you here today. And I'm going to disable all those. If you want, you can turn off the display of these baselines by using your filter pane. So I'm going to go back to to home and change my view filter manager. When you do this, you can go down to the bottom section here. You can see all the different types of raw data you can display. Under observations, show only enabled, and recompute. Actually, that didn't do it. I think it's actually underneath my observations here. No, I'm sorry, GNSS data. Show only enabled. There we go. So now you can see those are the shots basically that the core stations are going to shoot over to my unknown point, and I'm going to compare the values. So at this point I'm ready to process those three baselines, so I'm going to hit process baselines. So this could take a second depending on how big the files are. You can see you have a progress bar down here at the bottom. It's cranking along. As they come through, you can see the 95% accuracy of the points. They all look pretty good, so I'm going to save those, and the baselines change over to blue baselines. So now I can go look at how the coordinates of my unknown point 156 IR were created. So I'll click on it, and I'll go to point derivation report. So again, click on it, go to reports, point derivation report. Either way you could do it. I was just kind of showing you both ways there. So then you can see here's my 156 IR, and here's how the coordinates were derived. There's the new coordinates for this point based on me processing baselines. They were established from Angleton. I believe normally it's whichever one you bring in first, or it might be the closest. Looks in this case like it might be the closest one. So let's pull that report back up, and I'll go over the rest of the information on it. So Angleton is zeroed out, so that's being held. So you can see the city of Houston. We've got 100th or 2 in coordinates, maybe 400 or 500 elevation. Same thing with Rosenberg. And you can see my office center varied a lot. That's the amount of shift from my unknown position over to my new coordinates that are displayed up at the top, the resultant coordinates for 156 IR. You can also see your baseline information here, your GNSS vector information. The precisions on the vectors looks really good, and the coordinates. So I'm going to go ahead and close out that report. Now I'm going to show you a different way you can do it. You can actually do a mean weighted average of those baselines. So if you go down under your project settings, computations, change it from single observations to weighted mean of like observations, and hit OK. And now I'll reprocess those baselines, and I'll show you how I create a weighted mean, which is exactly what Opus does when they process baselines. They do a weighted mean of their stations. It's shown at the bottom of the report. So I reprocess, you're going to get the same precisions. What's changed here now are the resultant coordinates for 156 IR. So I'll go to my point derivation report, pull it up, and now notice my coordinates for 156 IR are based on a weighted mean of my 3 core stations. So there was a little bit of shift there. So now I can see what the weighted mean is and what the derivation is from each of the core stations that were used to establish those coordinates. If you want, You can save this report or print it. I think you can just do print to file here if you need to, if you want to save this into your TBC project. With that, I'm going to close that out. Go ahead and save this project, because now I have basically an Opus computation for my point, and this would be a good scenario to check Opus, or if Opus wasn't working, you can do it yourself, obviously using Trimble Business Center and processing baselines.